finally made it here to Fall River, Massachusetts for my Lizzie Borden tour, and it was so ridiculous. Like, there's just very little to no parking. A lot of the parking here is like meter parking, so you have to pay. For the Lizzie Borden tour, they asked that you park at the 3rd Street parking lot, but when I got there it said like monthly permit parking only and others would be towed, so I didn't want to take a chance on it, so I just got parking that's like right across the street from the Lizzie Borden house. It's metered parking, but it is what it is, and it's relatively close, so it's not like I'm walking so far. But yeah, so this is a ghost tour of the Lizzie Borden house. Now, Lizzie Borden was a real person. This is a true crime type of case, and basically she murdered her parents, essentially, in their home. I'm sure, like, if you were younger and here in the States, if you heard of the, song like Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks, that kind of originates from what actually happened in real life. But it's okay, you're going to hear more about it on the tour, so I'm not gonna really dive right into what really happened because that's what the tour is all about. So I will see you at 5:30 when the tour starts.
1892, a couple by the name of Andrew and Abby Borden, of course, lived here in this house with their 2 daughters, Emma and Lizzie. Now, of course, Lizzie's uncle from Andrew's previous marriage was staying the night before, randomly shows up and wants to stay the night. So, of course, that next morning on August 4th, they're all sitting down for breakfast here in the family dining room. And at about 9 o'clock in the morning, they all go out to do their day's work. So, of course, Andrew goes to his banks and the walk that he does. And, of course, John Vidica Morse went across town to go see family members. But, of course, that left, Bridget the maid, Lizzie, and Abby in the house all by themselves. And, of course, Emma, Lizzie's sister, wasn't home. So it was just these 3 women in the house. Now, Abby went up to this front bedroom right here to go make the bed that John had been staying in, because of course they didn't make the bed, Abby had to do it. But of course, at any rate, within those 30 minutes of her being in that bedroom, someone came in and hit her in the back of the head 19 times, thus leaving her a bloody pulp on the floor for 90 minutes, until Andrew Borden came home not feeling so hot from the day's work. Comes into the house, and within 20 minutes of being home, he kicks up his shoes, goes to take his snooze on the couch, and he gets 11 blows to the front of his face, essentially making it a crater. Now, of course, with Bridget and Lizzie being the only 2 people in the house, fingers clearly started to point to Lizzie, considering Bridget the maid wouldn't kill her employers to risk her losing her job. So of course all the law enforcement, the detectives, and the medical examiners looked at Lizzie as the prime suspect. Now, of course, without going too deep into the weeds and kind of spoiling what I'll talk about later, Lizzie ends up getting arrested, 10 months in jail, and a 2-week trial seen around the country. It's just as popular as any of the trials that we come to know and appreciate today, like the O.J. Simpson trial, the Aaron Hernandez trial as well, just to name a few. So, of course, it was one of the first sensationalized murder cases that happened in the U.S. and one of the most primitive in terms of forensic science. Trying to find out who this killer is, yet today we still have 0 idea. I mean, I think it's Lizzie, but of course, factually, we still have no clue as to who killed Andrew and Abby in this home well over 120 years ago. So just think of how long it's been. Now, of course, with that all being said, probably another reason why you guys are here, other than the Lizzie Borden part of it, is all the paranormal stuff that happens here at this house. Now, of course, being a tour guide, I could literally spend hours telling you all the stuff that's happened, I've seen, I've witnessed, I've felt personally. But of course, just sharing some of the other tourist stories that I hear or videos that I've seen. Of course, on the 3rd floor, there's a toy box that's been there forever. And every single time I'm here, at least, I'll always get videos from the people that stay in that room showing how the toy box doesn't look similar, how they'll literally see toys getting pulled out of the toy box. When that house was there as well, and of course, Bridget, who was 25 in age, she was Irish Catholic. She would have come here for Mass to take communion. So just a little connection to the Lizzie Borden case. But another pop culture fact about this little church is that there's a show called Know Your Roots. It's about celebrities who learn about their family genealogy, their history. And there's one particular episode that I found really funny of Sharon Osbourne, Sharon, the wife of the Prince of Darkness, or yeah, Ozzy. Her grandparents were married in this church in 1916, and that whole episode just goes through Sharon's family history and how they emigrated here, got married, and they go through the church records. That's always cool, right?
I always forget how closed off. Oh, this is for Becca. I want to know the caption.
Of how brutal. Oh yeah, see, get those cameras ready. Right, I'll give it to you guys. You can pass it around. So of course, with him sitting here like this, with a head wound, his blood, his head is blushing blood. That was terrible. But of course, his head is gushing blood. It doesn't seep into leather, so it'll drip off. So of course, you can imagine that as Andrew's dripping blood, it's dripping down into the couch, into this crevice, onto the floor, and it's soaking into the floor, it's soaking into the floorboards. And when the police went downstairs, ooh, it's a lumpy couch. So I went downstairs to go into the basement to look for any potential weapons. They noticed a small pool of blood even in the basement as well. So your boy was bleeding a lot. And now, of course, with his face not bashed in, that's what Andrew Borden would have looked like about a year before his death. I know, he looks very much like Abraham Lincoln. But of course, if you look at that photo over there, with him dead on the couch, you can see really how he looked when they found him. Now, of course, there's many theories as to how these people were killed, and what time frame, and how. Now, I can elaborate on a couple of them with the axe in my hands. Now, of course, Dr. Dolan, who's the medical examiner, one of the first people on the scene and investigating, he showed up and immediately said, "Oh my God, this is crazy." I'm paraphrasing, but he participated in the Civil War. He was a male nurse. He was a nurse during the Civil War, and even he said that this was worse than that. And even he said in his testimony that the killer must have been standing right here in this spot while Andrew's sleeping, or maybe not sleeping, but he was laying right here. Now, of course, don't exactly know where these people are coming from or who it was, but of course at around 9:30 we know that Abby was killed upstairs and she's pinned between the dresser and a bed. So of course, if you notice in the photo, she's doing one of these kind of things, in the fetal position, and there's a reason for that. Now, of course, when she was finishing making the bed, she was doing making one of these gestures, tucking in the sheets into the mattress. When she looks up, potentially sees who it is. Now, of course,
Very sorry.
It
was a team effort.
No, it's okay. It could be way worse, honestly. But that's why I'm not stressing it. I'm not stressing it. They would just replace it. But anyway, of course, when Abby potentially sees who the killer is, the killer strikes her in the face. There's one superficial wound to her face. And of course, with that, she spun around and hit the ground, and then that's when someone got on top of her and straddled her and kept hitting her in the back of the head with those photos you just saw. So, Abby's is a little more clear-cut, concise. We kind of know what happened, but with Andrew, someone just shows up and sees him dead on the couch, so you don't know what direction someone's coming in the house. The only thing that Dr. Dolan could think of is that they were either coming from these doors or from this one, because this door was locked during that day of 1892. So if it was Lizzie, she could have easily been in her room, which is the room above us. She could have crept over to the room next to hers on the landing, which is the guest room, whacked her stepmom, cleaned up, waited till her father got home, waited till he started snoring on the couch, and when she started snoring, it was game on. So, of course, from wherever she was in the house, she would come here, and before he could open his eyes, got him right across the nose and the eye, right between. And, of course, even the medical examiner said first whack would have killed him. So the other 10 were literally just overkill. In a crime of passion, he specifically said that as well that day. It just seemed like overkill, and it was a crime of passion. So I don't blame him. Just even looking at the photos, I wouldn't do that to a stranger. 11, that's a little overkill for someone I don't know. Seems like whoever it was had that reason to obliterate his face, just to remove that memory or whatever what was going on. So you tell me. I'll leave that up to you. But nonetheless, here are some photos of Lizzie during periods of her life, of course. And then this famous photo there on the wall above this lamp, that one was taken a few months after her acquittal at a house party in Newport. Her friend had a photographer there and snapped her photo. Her face kind of looks tired, but then it also looks like, oh, thank God this is over. That's how I kind of like to picture it. Mother 40 whacks.
So it wasn't 40.
No, I know. So gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. That was made up by a reporter standing outside of the courthouse that day. And of course, a group of kids heard that and went, I like that. And then thus the legend, that nursery rhyme began. So yeah. Where, you know, Emma's at the sink doing her washing, cleaning, doing all that housekeeping stuff. And Lizzie walks in, and Lizzie's holding a dress covered in paint. Paint, air quotes. Now, of course, Emma's too busy doing whatever she's doing. She's not really paying attention. So, of course, Lizzie walks in and says, oh, this dress is covered in paint. I want to burn it. So, of course, Emma, who's not paying attention, says, sure, go ahead, do it. Throw it in there. So, of course, Lizzie comes over, opens it, throws the dress in. Wow, awesome. Easiest thing I've done all day. But failing to mention that our friend right here, Alice Russell, Lizzie's best friend, or won't be for long, was also here in the kitchen, keeping them company in the days after the murder. Now, of course, she comes out with her, 2 cents, and she tells Lizzie, that's the worst thing you could have done, Lizzie. That's literally what she said. That's the worst thing you could have done, Lizzie. And Lizzie's looking at her like, what are you talking about? It's just a dress covered in paint. Like, why are you being so uptight? You're square. Now, of course, Alice wasn't really feeling like it was paint. Alice may have had other thoughts about what was on the dress. But she took that incident and she told the police. So not only is she a snitcher, she took Lizzie and threw her under the bus. Like, literally, here's the bus, here's Lizzie, and then there's Alice just pushing her right under it. Now, of course, the next day, the police come and arrest her on that account, considering that you just destroyed that evidence at a very crucial point when your parents just died. Bad timing, man. Too soon. Like, literally, it's a
So that was pretty much it for the Lizzie Borden ghost tour, if you really want to call it that. So basically, we were outside just walking around Fall River and learning about not only the history of the Lizzie Borden family and how they're tied to certain buildings, but also like other tragedies that happened in the area. And then we probably spent like 30 minutes at most in the actual Lizzie Borden house, and we really didn't do like a ghost hunt or anything like that. Like, we just toured the first floor and then that was that. The guy said that the day tour, you can actually explore more levels of the house because it's a bed and breakfast. So obviously at like 3 or 4 o'clock, people start to check in, and then when it's in the evening time, like when we went, you can't really go up into the rooms or whatnot because people are actually there. So earlier in the day, you can actually tour the whole house in the basement as well. And they also have like an actual like ghost investigation thing. I think that's at like midnight or 10 to midnight or something like that. If you want to do that, that's always an option, but I think your best bet is just to do like a day tour. You'll actually get to explore more of the house instead of just walking around Fall River, which it wasn't that bad. I got some pretty good shots and views and got to learn a little bit more about it. But I mean, besides that, like when you go to the Lizzie Borden house. You go there to learn about the murder and what took place there, and if there are any paranormal, activity in there. And we really didn't get a chance to do that. And I think only like one person had like the EMF reader, and we were in there for such a short time, like it really didn't go off or anything like that. Or I don't even know if they turned it on, because it was just like, okay, yeah, that's it. Tour's over, which was pretty sad. Kind of underwhelming, honestly, but if you would like, you can always stay there. It is a bed and breakfast, so you can always look up their rates and whatnot and see if you can actually get to stay there, because he said like a lot of people who did stay there and who did the day tours got some paranormal activity and whatnot caught on tape or film, but not for me, not this time. So I will conclude this vlog here. Tomorrow starts another day. I'm going to another state. We're saying goodbye to Massachusetts and hello to New Hampshire. So I will see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.